Happy Tuesday evening, everybody. Welcome to Turn 1. I'm Sean Fitz alongside Kevin England. Kevin, it's another Cup Series Monday night here at Pocono. 65 laps at the Tricky Triangle. Sounds like these drivers are going to have their hands full here this evening.
That's for sure. You either love this track or it totally befuddles you and you cannot figure it out. It usually takes to the end of the race before you find your mojo, and we'll see who's got it going on. But I'll tell you what, right out front, Mark Jorgensen Jr., what a blistering lap for qualifying.
Mark definitely put one together there as they come off pit road. And speaking of that, we'll hop right into our top 10 here tonight. Mark Jorgensen on the pole, Jose Gonzalez. Billy Glazer's going to start third. Starting fourth is Chad Coleman. He's looking to put together a strong run tonight. Troy Hoyt is going to start fifth tonight. Stephen Miles, we talked to him last night. Another third place finish for Stephen Miles in the ARCA car. Mr. Consistent he is, looking for a victory here tonight. Cody Harris is going to start seventh. David Schildhouse eighth. Eric Arnold and Brian Macklin rounding out your top 10.
Last week's winner, Tommy Ryan, starts 11th. Outside of him, Wesley Donaldson. It's Robert Friery III and Glenn Campbell, row number 7, 13th and 14th. 15th starting spot for Jason Karlovaj with Anthony Calantoni to his outside. Kevin Brown starts 17th. It'll be Nelson Rivera in the LaRue, number 22, starting in the 18th position. 19th tonight for Tyler Dalton, and outside row number 10, the 28 of Patrick Colby.
Thomas George, Joey Jatina, Bobby Wetzel, Mike Montesi, who spun during qualifying. He's going to start 24th. Charles Woods, 25th here tonight. Jason Pick, Joe Hudson, David Comstock, Alan Wild, and Kevin Stone rounding out your top 30 here. And, we have a whole nother set of cars. Kevin, what you got going through the rest of the field?
31st for Tony Benfield to his outside, the 3 of Jeff Ryan. It's Ron Hollifield and Justin Fuller making up row number 17. 35th starting spot for EJ O'Rourke, Jeffrey Hollingsworth, Richard Beasley, Doywoods, Josh Parker, as they come down for the green, and Doug Stegman, Brian Workman, Gerald Livingston, DeAndre Kane, Doug Roth. They're the cars out in the back here as we head to turn number 1. It's a drag race with the bottom line should have the advantage here. Jorgensen Jr. out front. He's going to have that contest from the outside. Can he clear him? He does. It's single file with Jorgensen Jr. leading down the backstretch for the first time here at Pocono.
Such a full field of cars here for the Sim 500 Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series here tonight. Oh, they're under caution already.
Yeah.
Big
that's
whack coming out of 2.
Pile. Oh my gosh, the tunnel turn looks like the parking lot over there is everybody piled in. Unfortunately, you hang the car down to go down to the bottom line, just flat-footed wide open, and that was a massive pile up, several big hits, and not the way these drivers wanted to get this started here on lap 1.
Absolutely not, and that actually looks like roughly half the field involved there. Joey Jatina, Thomas George, Kevin Stone, Stoney Benfield, Glenn Campbell, Justin Fuller, last night's race winner, Jeff Hollingsworth, Tyler Dalton, and about 12 other drivers involved in that incident. That is absolutely going to impact here. And Kevin, I know you've raced here a couple times this week, and this track is notoriously difficult to get around already. What is going to happen with a damaged car, and how's that going to affect your ability to make speed around this tricky triangle?
Yeah, quite frankly, you cannot make speed with a damaged car. Fortunately, the cautions take forever at this racetrack for that, but it's still not enough time to get the car fixed. It'll take 2 or 3 more cautions for these drivers to bang out all these fenders. As that started there with Glenn Campbell, and I'm not surprised when you get down into that corner, everybody has kind of different braking points, and Campbell got tagged by Tommy Ryan, who's sitting in the 8 car tonight, and that just started a melee when he blocked the racetrack.
Yeah, really nowhere to go there. The cars didn't sweep down the track like you see a typical high bank track and pretty much block the way. I think, Kevin, you nailed it right on the head. This was the first lap. Those cars were getting up to speed here, and not like the super speedways or the bigger racetracks. I mean, it doesn't take long to get up to speed. They got into 2 there, and to your point, I think everybody weren't ready for everybody's different styles, braking points and lines, and ultimately it's going to affect a large portion of this field here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that massive tangle, they were physically from the yellow line to the back straightaway, stacked 2, 3, 4. The biggest hit I think I saw was the 51 of Justin Fuller. Just locked it down and slid in. It looked a lot like our car. We raced the action track, and the same thing happened on the backstretch. We got tagged in the rear, and the car hopscotched after that with damage, and we had one flip off down to the inside last night. So, there's even ones like Justin Fuller, you can't get stopped. When the track is blocked and there's not a lane to choose, you do nothing but lock it down, pitch it sideways, and hope you don't hit as hard as you think. But I see some pretty significant damage for that 51 as he was going to pit road. The car was dragging a racetrack. So one of our top contenders here, trouble on lap number 1. We'll see if he can get the car fixed and recovered. But oh my gosh, the banging and beating and hammering and so on down there on virtual pit road is just astonishing.
Yeah, Justin Fuller was last night's race winner. Went flag to flag in the Sunday Night Thunder Series here on Turn 1. But tonight, unfortunately, that's most likely going to bring the end of his competitive evening here at Pocono. 19 drivers on my count sitting on pit road, or we're sitting on rear pit road at one point fixing those damages. While we've got that opportunity, I do want to take a moment and talk about the big race coming up here, the Independence 500, Sim 500's Summer Premiere Series right here on Turn 1. It's going to be a heck of a show. If you haven't found, or if you've not heard about that event, it is a 200-lap race at Daytona and the 87 Coupes. They're taking the first 80 cars to attempt to qualify, and I believe 40 start. It's going to be a great show. You can find every lap right here on Turn 1. That is July 6th, starting at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central. Kevin, we're going to take a quick moment here and kind of calculate the damages and find out where everybody stands. We're under caution for the first time here on lap 4. You're watching Turn 1. With so many cars affected here tonight at Pocono and that lap 1 incident, this could turn into a good points night for a lot of these drivers. Mark Jorgensen Jr., though, unaffected by that. He remained on the top spot. Him and Jose Gonzalez are going to get an opportunity to come back to the green flag here on lap number 5. And let's hope everybody can muddle through turn 2 just a little bit there. A little bit better this time by. I show 2 cars still sitting down pit road. A couple DNFs. We'll talk about more of that in a minute. Pace cars down pit road. Jorgensen and Gonzalez see the green flag. They're back rolling here at Pocono.
Incredible jump by Mark Jorgensen Jr. He's going to get away by 2 car lengths going down into turn number 1. They scream 190 miles an hour as they come up through the gears down into the banking. He's going to cut right down the bottom. I believe we're going to see Mark be a bottom feeder tonight. He was making that bottom line and the grip down there work as they roll out of turn number 1 down the Long Pond backstretch to the tricky tunnel turn. We'll see how it goes this time. It was just a little fight for real estate, I think. Last time by, I do not believe that Tommy Ryan thought the 44 was going to carve down into that open space. Just nicked him ever so slightly, but that's all it takes. Going into that corner this time, they're clean as you got a side-by-side battle there. Schildhaus to the outside. They're going to make it 3 wide coming up out of the corner. Hoyt backs out, and they are going to continue down the straightaway there. Now he's in another 3 wide. Wesley Donaldson down in the bottom. 31 of Eric Arnold there, and here comes the 84 of Callum Toney.
Madhouse coming out of 4 there. I think Hoyt wanted to stay free and clear of that situation, but just got right in the middle of it each time. It fell out of one right into another. Meanwhile, out front as they roll down this stretch off into turn number 2, Jorgensen. Out front last time by a 55-56. That's not really saying too much right now. Obviously very early in this race, one of the first laps up to speed as they roll through the corner here. Jose Gonzalez at 55-62 last time by. Jack Coleman running 4th, started there. Stephen Miles is up a spot so far. David Schildhouse, a powerhouse contender, won last Wednesday in the GOAT series here with the Sim 500 group. Now looking together to put another cup victory in his pocket as Mark Jorgensen Jr. runs the fastest lap of the race on a 55-55. I'm trying to say 53-55.
I'll tell you right now, everybody's kind of singled out. The one who took a beating last time was Troy Haight. He got out of line, and unfortunately, if you get one slow spot on a part of this racetrack, you pay the penalty for about a lap. He dropped back a couple, but you know what? Sometimes valor is the better way to go. You just be conservative and make sure you have a race car to race. You put yourself in a difficult position. That could be a challenge. And I'm looking at that 38. You called them just a moment ago. New paint scheme for the 38 this week. Got a snap-on the back and a snazzy looking paint scheme for Chad Coleman running in the 4th position.
Yeah, Chad, again, always a contender. It seems like in a lot of the different races here on Sim 500's Turn 1 coverage, but never really firmly and fully puts it together. But consistency is key in a lot of point situations, and right now, he is a contender in that points standings right now, sitting just in, I believe, in the top 10 or so here. Taking a look at my notes, I actually don't have him on my list. I thought he was. Maybe that was the ARCA series I'm thinking about, Kevin. Let's see. Now, Kevin, you mentioned it a couple times last week how powerful Schildhouse was. It looks tonight he's only up 1 spot here right now on that 20th or in that 20 car. Does track position play a role here? Does traffic and aero play a role, especially in this car at this track?
This is really a difficult place to pass. The difficulty lies with you can carry the speed coming up to the car in front of you. You need to find clean air when you get to the end of the straightaway. If you go down underneath the car, you're holding it down against the wheel of the tires, and you end up wearing the tires out, and that is not a way to get around Pocono. You will not find the car turning in a couple laps. Ideally, you could do a side draft coming down the straightaway, pull the car back and beat him into the entry of the next corner. Right now, he's in the tire tracks. Just try to see if he could set up the pass. You might work out in 2, 3, 4 laps, which is why you won't see someone run through the field here. Is you're usually better off running side by side. Wait till the car in front of you, or single file, I mean, and wait till the car in front of you kind of wears the tires out, and then if they slip or slide, you sneak on past them.
Schildhouse looking to come across the stripe here, still maintaining that 6th spot. Last time by, it looked like he was running about 2/10 slower off some of the fastest top 5 times, which right now being held by Brittany Glazer in the 3rd position in that 36 machine. Last time a 53.95. Really between him and Brian Macklin, the only driver still maintaining those 53-second lap speeds here as we're starting to see some green flag laps on these tires. But out front, that gap that Jorgensen had is starting to close. Jose Gonzalez on the move. Last couple laps, he's been about a 10th faster, and he's starting to close in on our leader as they roll down into turn 3.
You have to talk about the dynamics of racing this track and how you do it. You come down this long front straightaway, and really what you're looking for is markers at the end, the cones that are against the wall. Drivers choose different options as to which one they turn in to go into turn 1 and how hard they turn. Sometimes you could go all the way down to that marker light down there. Then you're going to choose whether you cut down in apex to the bottom line or run one groove up and basically use the seam in the racetrack as your yellow line. You want to get this run down this long pond straightaway. And then into turn number 2, 3, 2, 1 on the cone. You might brake at the Pocono sign, cut the car left, and here you really want to get down to that yellow line, maybe even touch the apron, swing off, get as much as you can, sweep out to the fence. And the hardest turn is turn 3. You go in to the end marker where the cone is on the wall, and the track comes up and then comes down. And when it starts to come down, that's where you start to hook it left. A lot of drivers like to open up the corner, as it said, big long arc down to the yellow line so that they could get a straight drive off to the front straightaway and carry the speed. Nobody's doing it better than Mark Jorgensen Jr. right now.
And Kevin, you know, this racetrack, it's pretty wide. You can run 3-4 wide here for a limited amount of time, but what you're not going to do is really get a whole lot out of the corners. You mentioned, especially here in turn 2, you got to be right down on that yellow line. You want to take the inside as much as you can. How difficult is it to be out of position and navigate around these corners here at Pocono? So say, for instance, Mark was maybe a lane high. What is that effect going to do on his corner exit speed?
Yeah, the difficulty is if you miss the mark, even by a couple of inches on this racetrack, you pay the penalty through the next section of the racetrack. If you go in that tunnel turn a little high, you just can't get the car to turn. You end up lifting on the throttle, and it defeats the entire lap for you. I saw a problem for Stephen Miles a moment ago. Out of turn number 1, the car got sideways. It is really difficult to pick up the throttle off the bottom of the racetrack here. There's just enough grip that you can stand on the throttle, and every once in a while to step out for you. For Miles right now, his car looks a little bit evil. Maybe he got the tires heated up just a little bit. That car slipped back, and he went from 6th to 11, losing 5 positions in 1 lap due to a little slip over there in turn 1.
Slipping forward is David Schildhouse. We were just talking about him and how difficult it was to frame up a pass, but he was able to get by 5th or 6th place driver Cody Harris to drive around him. Now David sitting in 5th. Started to pick up those lap times a little bit. And that's going to bring me to the topic of tires. Kevin, obviously, they've only got a limited sets here tonight. And this racetrack is pretty abrasive. You're going to, like you've mentioned, you're going to lean on that right front pretty aggressively. You know, from your experience, again, I'll ask you, what does tires mean to some of these drivers here tonight?
They have the tires. They start on 3 in the pits, and they usually can break the race up into 20-lap segments if they're running 80 laps. But the way we're set up here tonight, we're only running 65. So from that standpoint, drivers are going to do that. But I have a feeling track position is going to be interesting. I wonder if these drivers are thinking run halfway through, change tires, and keep the track position. I don't know if we'll see some alternative strategies. As bad as it is, if you get the rhythm down correctly and you take care of your tires, there isn't a ton of fall off because everybody else is experiencing the same thing. So you don't get a huge advantage by trying to leapfrog on a tire strategy. And you know, what I see in this race is that they're running single file, so the drivers really can pick and choose what lane they want as Schildhouse executes a pass, moves around Chad Coleman, and continues his march forward. His next one, he's going to hunt down his Bentley Glazer. He is in the 3rd position, Bentley, about 8-10 car lengths off of 2nd, and Schildhouse is already in to the back bumper coming off of turn number 3.
We've seen David make those passes coming out of turn 1. That obviously one of the faster corners on the racetrack here, often entering at least 190 miles an hour. We've seen a lot of really scary incidents at the real world track here as David's going to run about a lane higher, looking for a little bit of momentum to drive off the corner here. And we'll see if he's able to get to the back bumper there of the 36. Looks like this time Bentley's going to be able to hold him off at least down to turn number 2, but it's going to be tight. A 1 car length, a little less, separate them. Schildhouse is going to run right into the tire tracks of the 36 as they roll out of turn 2. This, I imagine, Kevin, that being Glazer here, that has got to be a little bit of an intimidation factor. Not only are you trying to hit your marks, but you've got, a fast driver that's closed in on speed, closed in right on the bumper there at a very difficult track to get around with anyway.
Yeah, your job is to make it difficult for them to pass. You can aero block by taking away the space. Last time, Bentley went low in turn one, and David got fresh air on his tire. I wonder if he's going to move up in the... He's not. He's going to go down to the bottom. David, of course, it's fairly easy when you get a good run up off the corner to get to the bumper. The question is, do you have enough run to commit to get alongside and try and execute the pass? Right now, Shieldhouse looks like a dog with a stake in front of him, just sizing up the competition, looking for that opportunity to pass. Turn down a little differently out of the tunnel turn to get some nose on that left front headlight. And I think it's just a matter of time. If he gets the right run, he's going to take the opportunity. He is way up high here in turn number 3 going in, looking to see if he could swing off that corner, and it didn't really help him that much.
Yeah, Kevin, you talk about really hitting your hitting your points, hitting your marks here at this track, and how critical that was. That almost was a perfect example of when you don't, when you maybe shake it up a little bit, do something a little different, and ultimately the car reacts, and he got tight, scrubbed up the racetrack coming out of 3. Up front, Mark Jorgensen Jr. continued to lead the laps here in Pocono, lap number 18 to 65. You're watching Turn 1's live coverage of the Cook's Landscape Group Cup Series. Right here, Sean Fitz alongside Kevin England, and Mark doing a great job out front, half a second over Jose Gonzalez. Bentley Glazer's in your top 3. David Shieldhouse, Chad Coleman running 5th. Cody Harris having a night right now, currently running 6th. Brian Macklin is up 3 spots, running 7th in that 30 Toyota. Wesley Donaldson, Eric Arnold, and Anthony Calatoni round out your top 10 as they cross the stripe here. I'll tell you what, under caution. Looking for it. It looks like Ron Holyfield may be involved.
Yeah.
Maybe all by himself there with the 25. He's going to spin. Go right on really corner entry. Kevin, that's a little bit of a weird spot. Let's take a look and find out what happened.
Yeah, it looks like he tried to hold the car high coming through the tunnel turn. The car wiggled a little off, got to the bumper of the 28, and just took a lazy spin down there.
Yep, that's going to bring out the caution for the second time here this evening at Pocono.
I don't think he's any worse for the wear on that one.
Most likely not.
Little scuff. Little scuff. Scuffed it.
That's right. Considering that massive incident on turn 1, collecting over half the field here tonight. Under caution, lap 20 for the second time. You're watching turn 1. Pace car lights are off, and we've got a shake-up up front. Bentley Glazer able to beat Jose Gonzalez off pit road. Kevin, this is not the pit stop I don't think the 88 wanted to see. He's currently marred back at 18th.
Yeah, when you look at the mix-up of the order here, this really shuffled the deck. Some cars took fuel only. You could say that fuel mileage, if they were tires, would work for them. But I would not want to go to for the rest of this race with worn tires. Now, some of them took 4. For example, our leader, Mark Jorgensen Jr., he finds himself restarting in the 18th position. I actually like a couple of these drivers who stopped into top off. We think 42 laps is the distance, and well, guess what? We're about 42 to go. So from that standpoint, drivers like Tyler Dalton and Ron Hollifield, who brought out the caution, some of the others, the 28, they could be ducking in for damage repair, or they could be ducking in for that last splash of fuel that might get them tonight.
And this really could be the last stop for some of these drivers. And on top of the incident on lap 1 knocking a lot of fast drivers out of this event, at least competitively, this could put a lot of these folks in prime points tonight. We're able to squeak out a victory that they've been fighting for all season long here so far as they get ready to go back. Green flag racing. The pace car is going to dip down. There he goes. Bentley Glazer, Jose Gonzalez, David Schildhaus, Chad Coleman in the first 2 rows. And the green flag is back out. We're back racing on lap number 23.
Got to be careful on these restarts. A little bit of an accordion through the middle. Everybody kind of sorted it out. Sometimes they fan out 3, 4, 5 wide going down there trying to get around the advantage. But they have to funnel back into turn number 1. So far, everything is good as Glazer leads him out to the Long Pond straightaway.
Don't look now, but the 20 car is on the move down to the inside line and was looking to position himself on the inside of Jose Gonzalez in turn 2. Backed himself out of it a little bit, but now right back to the bumper as they come down on this stretch leading up to turn 3. Schildhaus again showing he's got patience and speed. We saw him really amp it up about 10 laps into the run, and we can see that certainly pop off here again as Chad Coleman now looking underneath him coming out of 3. Not going to be able to do anything with that run. Bentley Glazer able to maintain the top spot here with Jose Gonzalez running P2.
I was wondering if Coleman could get to the quarter panel and dump a little air on the spoiler where the side draft wasn't able to get there. Schildhaus able to pull away a little bit going down that front straightaway. Now he breaks a great turn number 1 exit to the Long Pond straightaway and set sail as we are going to go into caution again. We have an incident over here on the exit of turn 1.
Yeah, big wreck on that Long Pond straight. I think this actually may have started with Tyler Dalton, surprisingly. I saw him get into the wall coming out of 1, and that may have checked everybody up behind him. Either way, under caution here once again. Let's take a look. Oh, and Mark Jorgensen Jr. is involved.
Actually, I think that started with him, the Doy Woods car. He was 3 wide coming out with Macklin on the bottom, Woods on the outside, and it turned the 88 around, and 88 just got pinballed and pounded all the way down that straightaway as he got hit by 5, 6 cars before he finally came to a stop, and he had to tow that car and get it fixed. So our pole sitter and driver who led the beginning of the race down there getting repairs done as that car beaten and battered.
And sometimes that track position and these slower stops not only puts you in a place of a net loss on track, but ultimately puts you around maybe some chaos or some other drivers you're not familiar with. Mark Jorgensen finding out the hard way that being back there sometimes is not always the answer. And it's really important to hit those pit stops and fire off as best as you possibly can each and every stop. Bentley Glazer, Jose Gonzalez, David Schildhaus, Chad Coleman, Stephen Miles, your top 5. You know, another night here tonight where I'm kind of surprised about this. And Kevin, this is somebody we didn't really talk a ton about until late in the going last week. That's Josh Parker. He's up 33 spots currently, running 6th.
I would not have guessed that you would have been able to leapfrog all the way through the field, but if you play play the cautions right and make those passes with these cautions, you can get yourself there. And this is another opportunity for Josh to put himself back in. We talked to him last week after his mea culpa from his previous interview. He wants to put things right, and the best way to put things right is have a strong run. 3 weeks in a row, he could find himself a podium when his fellow competitors have had problems. Schildhouse has been inconsistent this year, having a great run right now. The 88 had trouble. The 51 is retired. So from a point championship standpoint, this is just what the doctor ordered for Mr. Parker. And wow, look at all those cars that went to pit road. You want to talk about fuel mileage? Just check the box if they think they can make it from here.
Yeah, pretty much everybody that's stopping here now, whether it be damage or just a top off fuel, this pretty much locks you in terms of fuel, even through a green-white checkered overtime finish. So those drivers feeling pretty confident about the fuel mileage here if we were to get a long green flag run. Another driver having a really solid night tonight. P4 in the points. Been very quietly consistent as Wesley Donaldson. He's up 5 spots running 7th. And, you know, we talked about him very briefly last week. But Donaldson looking to have another solid night here. It's really interesting to see the come and goers in the top 10. That's the uniqueness of this track. Kevin, we talked about at the top of the broadcast how this race can, or I'm sorry, this track, to your point, you've got to love it or you hate it. One way or the other. There's really no in between.
Yeah, right now the guy who's loving it is the 36 of Bentley Glazer. He's going to stay out here, lead the pack, and this is the easy way to lead when you ride around under cautions. And I don't, we were talking during one of the breaks. I think if we can get this kind of sorted out and get 4 or 5 laps under, I bet we run green to the finish. We have 3 cautions for 8 laps so far. We're working lap number 26, but this is a type of race where they could break out and go all the way from here, especially since they just pitted for tires and fuel. So I don't know. I'm curious as to whether that's going to be the play. Certainly some of these cars coming off pit road right now are still trying to fix damage, I would bet, Sean, from that first incident on lap 1. That massive pileup over in the tunnel turn. Yeah,
I imagine so. We're seeing a bunch of drivers involved in that. Cody Harris, Patrick Colby, Stoney Benfield, Jeff Ryan, Richard Beasley on pit road, Brian Wortman also on pit road. So some of that, some faster, some of that trying to get those optionals in. Maybe find a little bit more pace here around Pocono, and others certainly topping off on fuel. But I got to imagine if it's a 42-lap green flag fuel run, these leaders now, Glazer, Gonzalez, Schildhouse, probably aren't overly worried. These caution laps are putting an extra lap in the bank every time they go around here behind the pace car.
Yeah, we've not talked about it tonight, but these drivers are shifting as they roll around this racetrack. They'll downshift 4th through turn number 1, run 4th all the way to about the on stretch, go up to 5th, and typically, and depending on driver preference, you would downshift into the tunnel turn. You might stay in 4th all the way around till you get back to the front stretch at the start-finish line. But the other alternative that they have is to shut the car off and or clutch the car. And what we learned in the new update is the car has to be below 75 miles per hour before they could use the ignition to turn off to save gas. So as they roll around here under caution, several of these drivers are minding their speed and trying to turn the car off to save fuel just to make sure they have a little more in the tank should it go to green, white checker.
Bentley Glazer, Jose Gonzalez on that front row, Chad Coleman, David Schildhouse in row number 2. Pace cars back down pit road. The front row is going to tighten up. That outside line is going to check up a little bit, but they get back rolling. Green flag out here, lap number 28. Schildhouse all over the bumper, Bentley Glazer, and then on the outside, Jose Gonzalez. Strong restart for everybody but our leader, and Gonzalez is going to look high on the outside, trying to use some of that momentum to drive around Glazer.
Well, you would have guessed that that would not work out for the outside lane, but how about that run for Gonzalez? I think he just kept his foot in it and drove with the hero down into turn 1, was able to drive through it. The big loser, Glazer, he's back to fourth as they go down into the turn 3 entry.
Yeah, I was just about to say maybe a missed shift and then finding his rhythm again in that 36, but ultimately he's going to lose several spots here on this lap. He's fallen all the way back, and it is basically a madhouse back behind him. Chad Coleman underneath him, Eric Otto, Josh Parker, EJ O'Rourke, Wesley Donaldson, all in this mix of chaos coming off a 3 as they wind down this long straightaway here. Got to sort it out as they fan out going back in through 1.
Yeah, I mean, my brain is locked up like a needle scratch trying to figure out what happened there, because Schildhaus should have theoretically been able to push Glazer down into turn 1 with the two of them locked and through to the lead, but for whatever reason, and I think you might have hit it right, maybe Glazer didn't get a good start, spun the tires, didn't shift properly. Something went wrong as Jose Gonzalez just sailed down into turn 1 to take the lead, but look at the pressure he's receiving now. Here comes Schildhaus to the bottom, and he's hunting for more.
Last time by, Schildhaus was 0.3 of a second slower than our leader, but that just shows you really how big and broad this track is and how quickly you can make up time. And there you have it. Now it's going to flip Schildhaus a 10th faster that lap. And that was evident in the time he made up on our leader. But we can't count out the 24 and Stephen Miles and all this again. Oh, under caution once again.
I was just going to say, there was a fierce battle out in the back of the pack. They were running 2 by 2 by 2 all the way through, and unfortunately it didn't turn out well for Robert Friery, the third, as the custom carpentry Ford was sitting backwards over there against the safer barrier in turn number 1, and we'll have to go back to the replay to see what the situation is there.
Lost it all by himself, and then unfortunately collected the 46.
Yeah, almost had it saved, and then it just snapped, and boy, that's a in real life, that's a scary deal. Slide sideways that fast through turn 1. We usually sit down right along the fence there. That's one of my favorite spots to watch them on restarts come down in there. And when you see that happen in real life, holy cow, that is along for the ride.
It's going to get your attention for sure. Jose Gonzalez, David Schildhaus, Stephen Miles, your top 3 under caution here for the 4th time. Lap 31, you're watching turn 1. Coming out of 3, getting ready to take the green flag against Shieldhouse. And Gonzalez here front row. Gonzalez elected to take the high line. Maybe learned a little something last time. That green flag out here at Pocono.
Yeah, right behind this group, there was a little bit of a checkup. Everybody banged and crashed each other. And as you see, the came out and I don't know. Oh, man. That accordion is always a problem with this racetrack for some reason.
For sure, especially a couple of these drivers that have been in a little bit of a couple incidents here tonight. It's back in that group. Looks like it may have started up here in front of it. A lot of these drivers that had been coming down pit road to get their damage fixed, well, they've got a little bit more body work to do as the checker flag, or I'm sorry, as the caution is back out here again at Pocono. Kevin, we talked about that long green flag run. Would love to see it. I imagine a couple of these drivers like Gonzalez, Shieldhouse, Donaldson, a couple of these guys in the top 5 would really, really like to see a little bit of a green flag run play out. But how much of this is going to affect those tires? You mentioned earlier that not really being a factor, but everybody in the top 10 has had the same tires here for the last 15 laps. I'll bet half those laps under caution so far.
Yeah, I think the dynamic nets out to these drivers can run as hard as they want to the finish. With 30 to go, that's about the extent of the fall off for the car to become ill handling if you take care of it. And I think these drivers out front, while frustrated that they're not racing, are probably actually benefiting from this little bit of a respite from green flag. I have to call out the pattern we continue to see right in the middle of that pinball match on the front straightaway. There was the 36 of Bentley Glazer after leading 6 laps of this event. Unfortunately for him, he took quite a few hard knocks on the straightaway as cars piled up against the inside wall. When you crash and end up against the inside wall on the Pocono front stretch, you know that it was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Glazer just joining joining, unfortunately, the same fate as Mark Jorgensen, who led a bunch of laps here, was our pole sitter. Got marred back in traffic, fell through the field, and then got caught up into it. Same with Jorgensen, who's actually showing a lap down, running at 40th right now, and I believe he's actually officially retired at this point. There's a lot of these drivers now down pit road here, getting those repairs made. Calatoni, David Comstock, Bobby Wetzel, Tyler Dalton's on pit road. Patrick Colby, Joe Hudson, Jeff Ryan, Jeff Hollingsworth, and others all trying to get those cars beaten back into submission. Here is under caution for the 5th time on lap number 36.
Yeah, and the good hands move of the race goes to the Pro Systems Brakes 04 of Doug Sigmund, who had these issues over the last couple weeks, but that time the brakes worked, locked it down, and just came to a stop in a cloud of smoke. Really difficult for him to see whether anything was going to happen there, but I don't believe he hit anything, and he's just getting some routine service, maybe getting some damage fixed from a previous event, but that time he avoided the calamity.
He certainly did. Unfortunately, Doug also a lap down, but here tonight, this is one of those tracks, you hear me talk about it sometimes, especially at some of the super speedway races and things like that. If you get wrecked early, there's really, especially if you've got enough of a car to meet a decent amount of speed, you want to keep going, because chances are there's going to be a continuation of cautions, and a lot of these drivers involved in that first lap incident, have certainly started to rise up through these through the positions. They may be a couple of laps down. That's okay, because several, again, right now I show we've got goodness, what, about 35 cars on the lead lap, but that's going to continue. We're going to continue to see attrition, and if you've got a little bit of pace in the car, you might as well sit out there and try to grind out as many of those spots in the field as you possibly can.
Yeah, I was looking in that lap 1 incident. Doug was out in the back of that incident, and he just kind of locked it down, pulled down to the apron, waited for all the smoke to clear, and was able to drive out of it. So wasn't involved in that one. I'm just going to look and see if he had any hits anywhere else. But, that's one of the challenges if you're out in the back of the field. for Glazer, for some of the others to try and stay out of the scrum when they get right in front of you and they block the racetrack. There's not much you can do about it.
I showed Doug Simon involved in a caution about 3 cautions ago. Looks like he logged an actual accident, so there's certainly damage on that machine. But back out front, Jose Gonzalez and Eric Arnold able to capitalize on this caution coming out. He was able to squeeze by and keep that spot there on the inside of Jose Gonzalez, and he's going to get a chance to restart with our leader. Alongside in row 2, Wesley Donaldson, David Schildhouse, those two again having a pretty decent night. Schildhouse, we've talked about several times here so far. He's really looking for a long green flag run. He wants this to come to fruition. He wants to see this kind of play out a little bit. We saw him not necessarily fall off the pace, but not advance as fast as some of these other drivers have, but ultimately started to come alive and worked his way up through a couple spots before inevitably this string of cautions happening here. Another driver having a solid night again, as we mentioned, Stephen Miles and Brian Macklin, Chad Coleman, all sitting in the top 10 spots. Jose Gonzalez, Eric Arnold, side by side, green flag back out, lap number 38.
Gonzalez out front, he's able to cover Arnold. He's going to pull down and get the push if he can into turn number 1. He gets to pick and choose his lane as to how he wants. He carved left. Here comes Arnold with a charge to the outside. Gonzalez trying to hold him. He'll drift up and take away the air as they go into the Long Pond straightaway. I always wondered if down this straightaway the drag on the right side of the car against the wall, but they always seem to run right against the wall until they get down here to the tunnel turn.
They do, and right up front, single file for the top 3, but Stephen Miles, Wesley Donaldson, they're sitting side by side right now. The 24 of Miles looking underneath Donaldson, and he's going to have that spot as Donaldson, I think, is going to check up. Oh, wow. Schildhouse now looking underneath Arnold as they come off of 3. Things get tight as they're side by side for second.
What a turn down Schildhouse had from the center off. He carved about 4 lanes down to that yellow line. He's still side by side with Arnold. Arnold to the high side trying to make a nuisance of himself, as out behind him the driver who could take benefit from those cars running side by side, Wesley Donaldson. They punch a hole in, see if Donald's going to be able to get some advantage. He stays behind the 31, and the outside lane is going to prevail. They're going to take Schildhouse back just a little bit.
Kevin, you mentioned this earlier as they get really tight coming off the terminal turn there, how important it is to be able to unwind the car, get it straightened back out with somebody on your outside, as Schildhouse has been experiencing. It looks like that right there is a byproduct of not being able to run out and let the car run up toward the wall and travel up there to gain that corner off speed.
Yeah, these cars lined up on the outside are taking it to David Schildhouse. He's going to drop back to 5th, leaving multiple positions behind as he goes around that. He has to reset, start over again. Learned a little something there that the top line seems to be working. Race goes on as out behind him, they're side by side with the 24 Miles poking a nose. And now we see the leader go down and break the draft, come off of that wall and try to keep the air coming off the front from slowing him up as it bounces off the outside fence.
Wesley Donaldson sitting at 3rd right now. He's able to solidify that spot. Brian Macklin, caution's out again here.
Oh yeah, this one involving maybe the 13 of David Comstock, as several cars around over there. I have to say I'm a little surprised about this.
Anthony Calatoni involved. It also looks like Patrick Colby, Stoney Benfield, Bobby Wetzel all showing involved in this incident. Let's take a quick look here. This was not quite to the entrance of turn number 2, I believe. Nope, I was wrong. Coming out of 2. What happened with Anthony Calatoni in the 28 car? Let's take a look at that.
Yeah, it almost looks like the 95 missed the corner and slowed up a little bit in order to try and get the car to turn down. When he turned down, he got on the nose of the 97 of Hollingsworth, who was coming, and he really probably couldn't let off at that point. Carried the speed in, and unfortunately, once again, when you make contact over there in tunnel turn, this is just going to result in calamity.
It almost looks like the 84 checked up coming on corner exit there, and the 28 did not get the message because they were actually underneath Jeff Hollingsworth there. So that's another interesting caution here. It just shows you how difficult some of these Cup Series cars can be to control, especially some of these really, really fast racetracks. Jose Gonzalez, Eric Arnold, Wesley Donaldson, your top three. We're under caution here once again with 25 to go in the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series on turn one. We'll be right back.
Little cars.
Gonna go back. Green flag racing here with 22 laps remaining. Jose Gonzalez, Eric Arnold up front. Searching for a green flag run. Let's see if that outside line pays off. Green flag back here at Pocono.
Drag race, as it is always, to turn number 1. Who's going to have the advantage? To Gonzalez. He's going to be able to pick his lane going in. No, he's not. The one drove it in deep and got to the front bumper. It is literally side by side coming out of turn 1 to the back straightaway. Gonzalez gonna get a side draft, but he's got the advantage on that high. Oh my gosh, I can't. I'm just looking out back. I have my eyes closed. I don't know what to make.
Getting really tight out of 2 there, and unfortunately Arnold's going to pay the price. He had to slow up to stay out of the side of Jose Gonzalez. Brian Macklin's going to take advantage. Is going to catch up with him. Macklin now the outside of Gonzalez as they come down the straightaway. It is chaos 1st through 10th here as they come across the stripe.
These drivers know now is the time to get it. On these restarts, you got to get every position you can, the super aggressive level, and then hopefully settle out and get what you get. But what a charge by the 38 of Chad Coleman. I saw a little blocking and a good recovery for Cody Harris sitting there in the 5th position. Is out front. There is a wrestling match as to who's going to lead this thing into the tunnel turn.
It certainly was. Brian Macklin's going to move down, try to block the run there of Jose Gonzalez, with Eric Arnold also right here in the mix, but really everybody in the top 5 within striking distance. One small slip up here by Macklin or Gonzalez, and it is going to be a game changer for some of these drivers now as Brian Macklin continues to lead. The top 4 get it single filed out, but we look a little further back. That's EJ O'Rourke and Cody Harris, as you mentioned, running side by side. Meanwhile, Macklin just ran the fastest lap of the night, a 53.49. Kevin, how much of that is just conservation, or as your point, is it just go time and what you've got is what you got?
I think we're going to see these times come down as the temperature of the air was 80 degrees at start, and right now 73 degrees Fahrenheit with the winds out of the west at 6 miles an hour. So the grip should be coming up, and these drivers should feel a little more racy. How about this move by Macklin? You know, Macklin, known as a super speedway ace, in this type of racetrack where you run a lot like a super speedway. You read the draft, you make the run, you get the pass, you try to get out front, you arrow block, and that suits the style of this number 30 driver. And I'll tell you, another driver who's got the press is Eric Arnold. He looked really hungry for a win here tonight.
He does, and Arnold in that 31 is up 6 spots on the night, looking to the outside of Gonzalez as they roll out of 2. Going to try to learn something here. He's going to have the momentum coming out of the corner, but really nowhere to go with it. We got a spin, and I think that's EJ O'Rourke.
Oh my gosh.
Trying to catch up with it. It certainly is. O'Rourke in the 40, in the 41. Going to bring out the caution here again. He's going to loop it again out of frustration. There with 19 to go. Let's take a look here.
I just wonder if that's just pressing really hard. We hadn't talked about EJ, but he worked his way forward and bounced it off the wall, and unfortunately just never got back straight. And that was pretty hard contact on the front end.
It certainly was, but and I don't know if it was a factor of control or not, but O'Rourke, it looked like it was going to cut right, and then he ended up turning it down to the inside and preventing the rest of the field getting involved there. Brian Macklin, though, was the star of that green flag run there for a few laps, but this is going to bring Gonzalez and Arnold back up with him. Kevin, this has got to be a factor. Obviously, these heat soaks in these tires also have got to be playing a little bit of havoc on some of these drivers. But Macklin right now showing speed in the later part of this tire run, whereas, say, Gonzalez is looking a little off the pace and starting to fall off a little bit. What you mentioned a tire fall off really doesn't really happen that much, especially in these short spurts. But what do you think is the cause for the speed of the 30 here?
Well, I think he got out in fresh air, which is going to help the car turn in that way. When you yaw the corner, you get the car to stick, and it really just cuts better for you when you're out front. You hear these drivers talk about how complicated you slide the nose when you're in dirty air. So being out front certainly going to help your lap times. You know, I'm looking in the back, and I said that tires matter that much, but in the brain, it matters a lot. If you have fresher tires, your advantage, you might drive a little harder. And as I look through the stack, Cody Harris pitted lap 26. Josh Parker, who we were talking about was mired back there at about the 15th position. He's where right now, just inside the top 10, as is Tommy Ryan in the 8. Both of them pitted 31 laps ago. So I don't know. You look at the pit strategies of these drivers. Some of them out in the back are starting to make hay and they've got fresher tires. So I don't know. We'll find out if that makes a difference. Schildhouse, he's the last car running 7th on the same pit strategy as Macklin, Gonzalez, Arnold, Coleman, Harris, and others. But fresh tires sitting right by Parker and Tommy Ryan.
Another driver sitting on some fresh tires, a lot fresher tires. Came down pit road lap 41 is Stephen Miles. He's worked his way back through the field, sitting 14th at the moment. And he's got to work around. He's got some of those cars that have been involved in some of those incidents. That's Kevin Stone, Glenn Campbell, Anthony Calatoni's right behind him, David Comstock, as well as Tyler Dalton. So Stephen Miles has got some work cut out for him here, and he's running out of laps to get it done. Under caution here, 17 to go. We're going to step aside. You're watching Turn 1. Macklin going to take the high side. Gonzalez going to be the inside row 1. Chad Coleman, Eric Alden, Wesley Donaldson, your top 5. The pace car is going to head down pit road. They're going to see the green flag come back out here. 15 laps remaining tonight for the Cup Series at Pocono.
Macklin got such a good start that he was able to go down and close the air off on the inside. He's going to head down into turn 1. We're going to go 3 wide. Schildhouse cuts down to the yellow underneath Cody Harris. They're 3, almost 4 wide, as Josh Parker had a moment where he thought about it but didn't stick his nose in there. They're back in the second half of that top 10. We were discussing during that break that right behind them in 11th position is Stephen Miles on the freshest tires. We talked about whether tires would or would not be an advantage, as holy cow, Wesley Donaldson was down there waving to the fans cooking hamburgers over there in turn 2.
He was, and you see Miles going to drive it in hard here into 3. Underneath
He's on the
Shieldhouse.
rumble strips, Josh Parker down there.
Yeah, definitely some aggression turned up here as, the cars are going to fan out coming off a 3 as well. We saw Stephen Miles driving through into the top 10. And again, last down pit road lap 41, some of the freshest tires there. He's going to get by Tommy Ryder, work to the inside there. Another deep dive through. Wesley Donaldson, though, has fallen off, now down to 7th. He made contact with the exit of turn 1 wall in this restart. Maybe a little bit of damage there to the 91.
And in that shot, you could see the neon yellow car. David Shieldhouse had a terrible restart. He's back there outside the top 10, and that just did not work for him. And that's been the tale of the tape here, showing all these restarts. It seems like somebody inevitably gets stuck in the wrong place and gets shuffled out to Buffalo as, wow, Macklin is gone. He's held the biggest lead here we've seen all night long in that number 30.
Yeah, up 9 spots on the night and doing well out front. Kind of was really slow to fire off, but ultimately has found the pace here in the later going. Speaking of finding pace, and we've talked about him a couple times, Josh Parker just ran the fastest lap of the race, a 53:39, and he's all the way back up to 6th. Kevin, that 81 car, I don't think we're done seeing what Mr. Parker could do.
He's whistling a little tune of Irish Spring as he has got some spring in his step there. That car coming to life here late in the going, and we were talking about the fresh tires on the car. It helps you get into the corner and carbs down underneath. We see these drivers like right down on the rumble strips over in turn 3, so much so that he just clipped it a little bit and the car unsettled. That allows Cody Harris to get away in the 95 and have. He's won a couple races this season, but it's been a while since he's been in victory lane, and he'd love nothing more to pull down the victory here in Pocono.
Brian Macklin continues to lead out front, 4/10 of a second. 12 laps to go. I think they're getting a little wild back here. I think they were able to save it. That's Coleman. He was way deep on the inside. Able to recover it, but he's going to lose a ton of time now, falling back to 12th.
I was trying to see if he got a little help. It almost looks like he got loose on his top of the left one as the wheel came around, and only a veteran would have saved that car. He hooked it up. He's going to take massive damage from it, but better than going against a safer barrier is he went from 4th to what? 14th, maybe?
Yeah, definitely took a fall through the field there with Chad Coleman. Is that who you're referring to there, Kevin, the 38?
Yeah, that he went back to 12th. Yes, the 38, the Snap-on Chevrolet.
Certainly not the night Coleman wanted to have see come to fruition here as Parker is starting to march his way forward, starting to challenge Cody Harris. And I tell you what, well, as I say that, he must have had a terrible exit out of 1. Here comes Wesley Donaldson.
Something happened in the middle of the corner. The car did not turn. It went up and opened the exit, got against the outside wall, almost had to check up, and a couple cars went by him, and unfortunately he's got to reset and try it again.
He's going to carve it in underneath here. Wesley Donaldson out of 3, but he's going to lose that pace. That's unfortunately what happens if you cannot get clear of that driver you're underneath there, especially in turn 3. You're going to lose a ton of time. Josh Parker now settling back into 6th. Back up front, Brian Macklin. He's still leading, but that gap's starting to close now within 2/10. Jose Gonzalez starting to run down Macklin here, and both of these drivers on the same tire strategy here. They've all been down lap 20 or so. So the top 3 have not been on pit road for some time, and you see Jose Gonzalez on the charge as they come out of turn 2.
Yeah, for Josh Parker, they're going to review these tapes. Sometime these drivers go back and look at their performance, and he's going to wonder what he was doing down there in turn 3 on that apron as he's physically running across the car seems to be unsettled. I don't know if he felt like that worked for him in the past, but right now it seems like the car is a little too unsettled. We get the famous Pocono snake. I love it when they drive down and snake down the front straightaway in order to try and break the draft.
Speaking of trying to make the draft, Macklin's got to start pulling out all the stops. Gonzalez continues to hunt him down here. Whoa, I say that, but Gonzalez looks like he had a little bit of a slow corner exit there. Eric Arnold, Cody Harris, Wesley Donaldson, your top 5. Mostly spread out, and Kevin, this may be the green flag run to the end that we've been looking for.
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way right now as the field is kind of single filed out, and everybody is certainly charging, it feels like. But I don't know. I'm wondering, you know, if you're Jose Gonzalez, it's been a long time since you've got the victory. You got the same tires as the one in front of you. Take advantage of the draft, and like a speedway track, maybe you just sit there and wait for that opportunity to get there, get in underneath the bumper, nudge them up a little bit, and get yourself a victory. But it's easier said than done at the racetrack.
Speaking of tires, Cody Harris is sitting 4th right now. He came down pit road 5 laps later than our top 3, and he's working his way forward, sitting 4th. Donaldson on that same strategy as our leaders, but Josh Parker, he has 11 lap fresher tires on that 81 machine, so all becoming a factor here. Stephen Miles, after kind of restarting right there around that 7th, 8th position, hasn't made a whole lot of gains, and he came down lap 41, so those newer tires not necessarily playing off for Stephen Miles here in the late going, but I imagine he would need a little bit of a longer run for those to materialize. As again, these drivers back here running 12th, 11th, 11th, 12th, 13th, all trying to break up that draft coming down the front stretch.
We talk about how difficult it is to pass. Once you get into one of these green flag scenarios where everybody's running nose to tail, you really just need to wait until you get that run and then make the right move. Wow, talk about going into the draft. He saved it, but Jose Gonzalez was physically in the grass, and that's going to shake up this top 5, and the massive advantage for the 81 of Josh Parker when everybody slowed up to keep everything at bay there. The 81 was able to scoot underneath. Now he's in a drag race for the 91 as Gonzalez going to push him down, and they're going to make contact. The 81 against the... What is going on?
Well, it's 6 laps to go. That's what's going on. Here's the all fan out going off into 1. And Kevin, that was a masterclass setup there of Eric Arnold. He's the one that shoved Jose Gonzalez down there into 2, and Jose just not able to get the car checked up and is going to fall back. But that is what Brian Macklin wanted to see. His lead now out to 0.6 of a second over Cody Harris.
They're 3 wide out back here for about the back half of that top 10 with Childhouse underneath. Mike Montesi trying to get the run as the driver who was on the outside just kept his foot planted in it. It's Stephen Miles, and drive around and carry that. It's smooth sailing for Brian Macklin. He loves. I'm going to drive away and get myself a win here at Pocono Raceway.
And they get it all smooth back out here as we are officially 5 laps remaining in the Cooks Landscape Group's Cup Series here for the Sim 500 group on turn 1. And I tell you what, another great race by this group. But out front, Brian Macklin, he's actually not out high, as high of a gap as he would like. He was up to 0.6, but Cody Harris is starting to run him down. And Cody actually last time by was almost 3.5 tenths faster than our leader. Kevin, does the 95 or these newer tires going to play dividends here at the end of this thing? And does he got enough time to run down the 30?
I mean, getting to him is one thing, and it's the old adage, passing him is another, but that 95 is on the charts. You could watch the lap times as he starts to close in. What Cody Harris could benefit from is if somebody was behind him and they could run the tandem to run him down, but unfortunately for him, third place Wesley Donaldson's about 20 car lengths back, so it solely sits on the, well...
that's going to shake it all up.
Because guess what? We're under caution with 4 to go. Oh my.
And maybe a little bit of a retaliatory situation there. under caution. I believe that was the 17 that went alongside. It was Kevin Stolten made contact with another driver. But under caution here, coming out of turn number 1. Let's take a look and find out what brought this out. The 17 was just... I'm not, to be honest with you, Kevin. I'm not sure what happened. It looks like EJ O'Rourke was turned around sideward backwards coming out of the corner.
Yeah, I saw him backwards, and he went across. EJ went in the place where the tow truck came out. Or 17 did.
That was weird. So the 17 was down on the apron. O'Rourke was slowing up. I don't know if something happened with those two coming through the corner on entry or what, but I'm sure league admins are going to have to take a look at that, as that was certainly not the cleanest turn one we've seen all night. Meanwhile, out front, Brian Macklin is going to see an overtime restart here. And Kevin, you know, we've talked about it earlier, and I think from all the caution laps are going to be the good, but does fuel mileage begin to become a factor here?
I think they're probably good on fuel. The question is, will anybody duck off of the racetrack and pick up tires here? I can't imagine you would go that route, but...
Yeah, I don't think so either. Look at Stephen Miles, right? He's currently running 5th. He's got the newest tires in the top 10, but he really hasn't made a whole lot of headway. I just I don't know if the tires would really benefit anybody here that on a 3-lap shootout or 2-lap shootout.
Yeah, I think you got what you got. You're going to stay in. Who's going to go?
Well, we've got a couple drivers flirting with it, but they're going to duck out. Brian Macklin, Cody here. Oh, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Oh no, they didn't. We saw that fake pit stop there.
Yeah, they were trying to bait a couple drivers down there, but either way, Brian Macklin is going to have the restart of the night here. When we come back, we're going to go into overtime. You're watching Turn 1. They're off to overtime. Brian Macklin, Cody Harris, Jose Gonzalez, Wesley Donaldson, Josh Parker, your top 5. I think, Kevin, you said it best. They're not going to finish in the same running order we see right now as they go down the start-finish line. Green flag back out. We're NASCAR overtime at Pocono.
Huge jump by Macklin again, another outstanding restart, but the field is bearing down on him as they head to turn. Right now, Macklin's in charge, Harris in second, side by side for third, and Jose Gonzalez sees this can possibly get another opportunity, a good run up. As Harris is there, he's going to make the charge. They'll get side by side. This will draw Gonzalez mix. They're dead heat going into the tunnel turn.
Harris underneath Macklin. And Macklin's going to have to try to keep it off the wall. Harris has got to try to unwind the car. He's going to survive turn 2. Oh, no, another caution's out. A big wreck with Shieldhouse and others involved.
Doug Roth, who we've not mentioned, he's out there in the outside wall. That started with Montesi, going for a big spin as he's down there on the entry road, trying to drive past the carnage over there in turn 3. That was a pretty big hit. I don't know if Montesi got help or just got loose going into the corner, but the silver throwback scheme went around and around.
Taking a look here, let's see what happened from the perspective of David Shieldhouse. I think this is going to be kind of after it's all said and done. It was. He was kind of up there, just didn't get checked up in time, then had the off track there. It's, as Kevin, you mentioned, Doug Roth involved. Let's see what happened with Mr. Roth here. Oh, no, it happened in front of him, and then he just got collected, wasn't able to check up in time. It looks like that was the 20, and goodness, who else was that? Well, that was, you said, was that the 4? No, it was not. Who was that up there with?
The 4. Go back and watch it. So it almost feels like the 4 tried to keep from sliding out and catching the wall and was conservative at using all the racetrack, and the 20 thought he was going to use all the racetrack. As the 4 came off, he kind of stayed a little away from the fence, and the 20 came up and got to left rear quarter panel and sent him spinning.
Yeah, and of course, David Comstock there also involved in this wreck here tonight, bringing out the caution once again. And attempt number 1 in the books, Kevin. This green-white checker, they're going to have one more shot. And we saw Brian Macklin, Cody Harris battle it out there. Heading off out of 2. Do you think Harris learned anything on that restart? Obviously, he's going to probably be pinned down to the inside, but he's got to try to make a move. What do you, as with racing experience here, what would you do if you were in the shoes of Cody Harris?
Honestly, I think he had an outstanding restart. They were side by side going to the turn, and I almost feel like I would run it in as hard as push them off the racetrack and see if I could get the advantage that way. But it's so hard when you're the car on the bottom, and especially with the tires when they pit last lap 26 laps ago. So from that standpoint, I don't know. You're just going to try and hustle the car and do what you can. The car on the outside gets corner that they have the advantage. Multi-time winner this season with that 26 car sitting there in third. He probably, if he can come away clean, is happy with this because his last win was in 2023, and he would love nothing more to not win column and break that long losing streak. Winless streak is a better way to say that.
Yeah, Jose Gonzalez right now sitting third. It's not the end of the night here. He just needs to see those two up front battle it out one good time. Gonzalez, they could certainly make a move, and he's when Kevin, you told me that that stat that he had not been down into victory lane in goodness what, almost 2.5 years. That is impressive considering the speed he's carried in a lot of racetracks we've covered here on turn 1. Jose Gonzalez going to restart third. Another driver who's up here in the top 4, I'm surprised about, is Wesley Donaldson. He's up 8 spots on the night. and going to have another shot at it. He's going to be in that, what it looks like have been a dominant outside line. That may be a factor as he's going to restart right behind our leader, Macklin, here as they get ready to go back green flag racing.
Tell you, there's another car that you can't count out. He was involved in the first incident of the night, but as incredibly is Tommy Ryan back there in the Randy Yoakum number 8. He showed up one time this year and won out of the blue. Who knows? Maybe lightning will strike twice. Tommy Ryan has put himself in a position in that high. It could be complete bedlam coming off of turn number 1 for this final restart. They all know this is it. Bring me back the checkered or bring me back the steering wheel. And I have a feeling this is going to be rather exciting to get themselves finish here at Pocono Raceway.
It certainly is. As you mentioned, let's talk about the overtime rules for just a second. They're going to take the green flag here at about half a lap. If they make it all the way back around and they see that white flag, they're going to come all the way, they're going to race all the way back to the checkered flag. But if at any point between this next restart and the next time they cross the start-finish line and caution comes out, the driver at the time that's sitting in P1 will be deemed the winner. So this is the last chance of a NASCAR overtime here restart at Pocono for Sim 500 and the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series on turn 1. Brian Macklin on the outside, Cody Harris, Wesley Donaldson, Jose Gonzalez, Tommy Ryan, and Kevin, I think this is going to be a little sporty as they go off into one.
Yeah, for Macklin, he's looking to get another one of those amazing. Cody Harris, he just wants to be in the hunt for everybody else behind him. There, get the line. As the pace car is done, it is up to Macklin to kick it off. He gets a decent restart. Once again, breaks away. He's going to come down and cover the air. Line come back up to make the entry into turn 1, and we'll see who's going to be brave enough to sail into turn 1 and see challenge that 30 for the win.
Macklin free and clear up front as they roll out of turn 1. Back behind him, Harris, Donaldson, all battling it out. Tommy Ryan's moved up to 4th all of a sudden. You also can't count out Josh Parker. He's back up to 6th as they roll off into 2 here. Macklin continuing to lead by 2 car lengths going down this final straight as they head off into turn number 3.
Here comes Harris with a huge run. He got a great draft down that short street. He's going to be 1 car length behind and coming. He needs to line up and get the run of his life down this front street.
And it looks like
front bumper to the back bumper.
I'm sorry about that, Kevin. White flag is out one more time around here at Pocono. And I think right there, it's going to be Cody Harris looking to the inside, drove it in hard through 1. He's going to have the lead coming out of the corner. Cody Harris, your leader, as they roll off into the turn 2 one final time here at Pocono.
Talked about fresher tire, 6 laps, fresher tire, gave him the confidence to drive down perfectly. Now he has a car length, and what will Brian Macklin do? He needs to drive it in as hard as possible. He goes to the high side. He's going to square it up and see if he can get a run as Harris. All he needs to be is clean off of turn. He's got, and they head to the checkered flag.
And Cody Harris is going to bring the checkered flag home here tonight at Pocono as there's a huge wreck down the front stretch there at the end of this thing. And it looks like Harris, Macklin, Donaldson, your top 3. Kevin, that was a wild one there. I'm not surprised to see Cody Harris in victory lane, but I think this just shows that those tires really paid off when it mattered most.
I'll tell you, I don't know what Macklin was doing there, but he may have almost given up that second position with that move down on the front straightaway in frustration, but what a move by Cody Harris. Lined it up perfectly. We saw him get the draft, went down the front straightaway, set it up, went down into turn 1. When he turned down there, I have no idea how he made the car turn, but he drove right underneath, and slide job out of turn number 1, just came up ever so perfectly into the space and drove away for.
We're going to step aside one moment, bring you some post-race coverage, starting with our race winner, as well as Brian Macklin and Wesley Donaldson. You're watching Turn 1. as our leader continues to celebrate on the front stretch here at Pocono. We're going to head it on over to Kevin to talk with Wesley Donaldson, who finished third here tonight at Pocono.
Yeah, we're slide in here with Wesley Donaldson, our third place finisher. Wesley, I'm not sure what you could have done, but you had a front row seat to an outstanding move for Cody Harris to get the win, but it looked like a hard night's work out there, and I don't know how you feel about it. Are you happy with the third place finish? It was certainly a pretty complicated race for a lot of drivers.
I mean, I can't really complain about finishing third. It's just so hard to pass. I didn't feel like I was like quite the winning car anyway. And I mean, who knows? Maybe if I would have gotten clean air, it would have felt completely different because dirty air felt so bad all night. But I mean, at the end there, I was just hoping that something stupid would happen and I would luck out and be able to pass them both. But I mean, I'll be pretty content with the third.
Yeah, it looked like you just kind of kept your nose quiet, kept the space around, ran a conservative race, and sometimes that's the good strategy for Pocono, but it looked like every one of those restarts, the complexion of the run that you got was a little bit different. Take us through what was going on every time they dropped the flag.
Well, I mean, for one, it really sucked if you were on the bottom on a restart, especially once leaders started taking the top there. It seemed like about halfway through the race. It just was, I mean, it was so hard once you got somebody on the outside of you you'd get so tight. For whatever reason, I don't know if it was just me or what, but really on that first lap going back green, it was just extremely tight. But it was just all about trying to get to the top, especially towards the end there when nobody's given an inch. And by the time you could slot in, I mean, there was some restarts, like there was, what was it? I restarted in 6th on one of the restarts, and the whole outside lane got moving, and the inside lane didn't, and made 2 passes, and then the caution came out right away. So it was all kind of whether you looked out on starting on the outside and then just hoping it turned by the time you got into the corner.
Take us through the tire wear factor. We know that they made changes for iRacing not too long ago, and the track drove a little bit differently from my field when I ran earlier this week. What was your impression of the way the car ran around this Pocono Raceway?
I mean, I really don't think there was a ton of wear. At least it didn't feel like, even towards the end there. I mean, we were running pretty decently fast lap time still. It maybe fell off a little bit, but it was just so hard to pass anyway that, I mean, once I knew that we were good on fuel and we really didn't have much on the tires, if we had a decent amount of yellows like we did, I knew I wasn't going to pit again because I don't know what the deal is with the new update, but it looks like the tires just don't get as hot for whatever reason. So even though they're wearing, like that last run, I was down to, I think, like 60 and 74 on the rights, but it didn't really feel like they were worn.
Yeah, I mean, 9 cautions, 27 laps under caution in this race. Probably had a lot to do with the cool, hot cycles preserving the tires. So, grade your season, where you stand. We're halfway through. What do you think of your efforts so far?
I mean, I've been a lot more consistent this year. Probably sitting at about like an A-. I mean, managed to stay out of a lot of trouble. I had a few kind of rough weeks there about last month or so, but beyond that, it's been really consistent. I don't feel like I've had quite the same like race winning speed that I did at times last year, but I feel like it's kind of come back to me a little bit. So hopefully keep that ball rolling, and the more times I finish in the top 3, the more times I'm going to have a chance to finish in victory lane. So,
well, 6 top 5s, 11 top 10s out of 17 races. That's not a bad effort. Going to get that victory sooner or later if you keep running the way you are. Who do you want to give it to?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everybody who makes the league happen, all the admins, Cook's Landscaping Group, Goat Racing Diecast, myself, WBD Diecast, everybody who sponsors the league. Thanks to you guys for doing the broadcast every single week. Sean, thanks to you for coming on kind of mid-season, and I look forward to next week.
There you go. It is Wesley Donaldson, your third place finisher after a long night's work. Not a bad effort. Congratulations, Wesley. We'll see you next week.
See you then.
All right, we're going to talk to Brian Macklin, bring him up, our second place finisher here tonight. Sean has caught up with him down there on the front straightaway.
Brian, listen, that was not the way you wanted to see that all play out. I assume you really wanted to see those green flags stay out there to maintain this lead. Run us through the last 10 to 15 laps here at Pocono.
Yeah, just another typical night at Sim 500. We can't get green flag laps the end of a race, and I don't know, the car just went straight on the last restart going in turn one, and Cody was able to get me.
Brian, we heard tonight. Kevin and I have been debating about tire wear and how much of a factor that was. How did that play into tonight's race, or really was it all about that clean air and just being out front with it? How difficult it was to pass tonight?
Yeah, clean air was king. I mean, once you were in a fuel window to make it to the end, you couldn't pit and risk giving up the track position. So that's exactly what I did, and almost worked.
It certainly did. Brian, finally, up 7 spots on the night. This was definitely a good points night, I guess, more than anything for you. I'm sorry, 8 spots on the night. Is there anything you would have liked to have maybe had a second chance at? Obviously, that turn 1 on the last lap would have been an opportunity. Anything you could have done to even prevent that situation prior to that restart?
Yeah, if the guys in the back don't wreck and hang out a caution to make a green-white checkered, then none of that happens. So just frustrated, one of those things. I've had a rough season, would have liked to have gotten the win, but we needed the points, so guess I can look at it that way and say that the good finish was worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, listen, I appreciate the frustration. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again here real soon. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Brian Macklin going to finish P2 here tonight for the Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series right here on turn 1. And with that, we'll hand it over to Kevin, who caught up with our race winner.
The smile is as wide as it should be. Cody Harris getting the victory. And Cody, does it get any better than a last lap pass for the...
No, it's I wasn't expecting that. I haven't driven much with the new update yet, so I spent the whole race trying to get used to it. And then I tried something a little different on the pit strategy, hoping because I kind of got back to like 10th, right when it was about time to pit for the kind of the last fuel. If it went green from there, I could have made it, and I don't think anybody else could have. But then all the cautions happened, and then I think I just got lucky on the restarts, and yeah, making the last lap pass. The clean air is important, and Brian just kind of gave me the bottom there, and the car I kind of throttled up, and it just stuck, and yeah, that was really fun and exciting.
Looking at the pit strategy, you had 6-lap fresher tires, and I don't know if that really made that much of a difference, but the car really carved pretty well from the center of the corner off down to the bottom lane, and you were able to clear them. We were surprised. I can imagine you were surprised as you look in the rearview mirror heading to the long pond straight away.
Yeah, I was surprised it stuck that well too. The only other thing that might have helped is I had a little more fuel on board since I pitted, and that usually loosens the car up a little bit. So maybe just having that a little bit advantage there might help me out there a little bit. But yeah, I didn't actually take tires either when I pitted, so I don't know if we were on the same tires or not.
Well, it's been an odd season for you. It's almost bipolar. Half your finishes are in the 20s, and the other ones are top 5s all the way through. And this is your 3rd win, put you 2nd in the win column. How about it? Is this the way you get yourself back on track to consistent top 5s? Wins?
Yeah, I hope so. I'd like to keep racking them up. It'll be difficult. We got some good competition here, but just try to get some things. I seem to just find myself around crashes, or I've made a few mistakes throughout the year too, but trying to get those cleaned up and get in a good position here. The playoffs will be here before we know it.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is a good way to get yourself sorted out for that. We have 2 weeks off before we come back to Atlanta Motor Speedway on July 14th. So you're going to be able to savor this victory for a little. From that standpoint, I'm sure it was a hard night's work, but it came away with a gratifying victory. Tell us, who do you want to say hello to, give a shout out to, thank your sponsor?
Yeah, just want to thank everyone that supports me, that watches from week to week. And then, yeah, I got some teams that I work with. I know there's no Road Pro this year, but I've got some guys that I work with from time to time, and hopefully we'll get some information on that so we can get back grinding on that.
Okay, Cody Harris, he's your victor here tonight at Pocono Raceway in exciting fashion. A last lap pass, sliding underneath Brian Macklin for the win in double overtime. Congratulations, Cody. Enjoy that win. As we come back to Sean, what a race. It's what we kind of thought, a mixed bag, a lot of cautions, but a lot of great racing here. And, tight corners. We didn't really talk about how the corners funneled down on entry. And the lane the optimal lane to get into, especially turn 2 and turn 3. Ends up in a lot of physicality at this racetrack, but I saw a pretty entertaining race tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Kevin. As you mentioned, it's as wide as a racetrack it is. It really turns into really a lane and a half of competitiveness, and we saw that a lot with a lot of incidences coming out of turn 2. It also gets really skinny coming out of turn 1. There's all that runoff area, and you could run 3-4 wide there if you could get out the corner that way, but ultimately the track just throws you up against that wall, and having somebody inside of you or maybe being 3 wide and in the middle, it's almost guaranteed chaos unless you've got some skilled racers around you coming out of some of these corners here at Pocono. But I guess that's why they call it the tricky triangle.
I mean, we started with a huge bang on lap number 1, a massive crash involving about half the field, but we ended up with some green flag runs, and in the end, Cody Harris comes away from the victory over Brian Macklin, and he gets to enjoy the 2-week break that we take. We'll be back in Atlanta back in July, and had a blast here tonight, Sean. Looking forward to the break, summer break for these drivers. They've been running since February, so it is nice for them to take a little break, go spend some time with their families. And I think you heard what Cody Harris said. Some of them are going to be practicing with this new setup to see how to get the car to go faster.
Yeah, I suspect we will see Atlanta being like being a truly race like a super speedway nowadays is going to be an opportunity for maybe some of these drivers who have been just outside of the top 5, outside of the top 10 to maybe sneak up there. But then we run down the stretch here through the late summer, and it's going to certainly heat up as we get close to the playoffs. We're going to call it a wraps here tonight for the Turn 1 broadcast coverage of tonight's Cooks Landscape Group Cup Series here for Sim 500. On behalf of the league admins and alongside Kevin England, I'm Sean Fitz. We appreciate you for tuning in, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for more Cup Series action on Monday night. Good night, everybody.